Good morning, afternoon, and or evening, my sexy compatriots. This is the cup of coffee that you all know and love, me to coffee. Here with a bit of a laid-back commentary over some TF2 footage. Today I have with me sexy compatriots Halen2020.
Hello.
And Commander Crocket.
Salutations, Crocketeers. Just joking, don't have my YouTube channel
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, and you are never that polite. Okay.
Come on, you're selling me short over here.
No, I'm selling you quite lovely. Basically, what we're going to be talking about today is a bit of a sort of more of a laid-back perspective. I killed myself. Sort of a laid-back perspective on the Pyro hate after Jungle Inferno. Just sort of talking about Pyro in general after Jungle Inferno. So, I mean, the general gist of the update was to, you know, fix Pyro, make him more consistent, just address the issues from the From Pyro with Love team. And as I went over before, for the most part, I'm quite confident that they fixed it. Like, Halen, what would you say is the most controversial things that have come out?
Well, currently I believe the most controversial thing is people think that you can just spin in one spot and execute everyone.
With the hat all spinning around, fucking maniacally. And like...
Oh yes,
Yeah, I've seen some people that literally say, it goes along the lines of, hitting someone with one particle is the same as hitting them with multiple. I never get where people got this claim.
because they feel like the timed hits work like that. They're unable to separate damage from particles because damage is now time.
Yeah. As we particles tick like every what was it, 0.075 seconds, give or I'm in game, so I don't know things off the top of my head. Yeah, every 0.075 seconds for up to, I think it's up to 13 damage based on the distance from the pyro, something like that.
No, it's actually the I learned that fire damage, the highest you can get 13 if the fire particle is fresh, and damage goes down the older the particle gets.
So it's still based a bit on particle lifetime.
Yeah, it's not based on distance anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's obviously gratefully received, given the whole issue with flame particles before Mojo thing. Where if you just had the high or low latency, then your flames either don't reach anywhere at all, or just reach ridiculous distances.
So I mean, that's one thing I've seen people raging that want it to be changed to, like, oh, the further the flames have flown, like at the end of the cone it does less damage. So if it already does that, then I don't see the hate. Like, the damage is only going to be maximized if you're right in the face of the pyro. And, you know, you've had people that have shown off the thing where, oh, if someone's standing still and the particles fly up into them, that it can do, like, 100 damage with just one puff. But that's easily strafed out of and whatnot. So, but I don't know. I don't see why that claim is so overdone lately.
I mean,
well, I have a very simple explanation, but you first, Crocket.
I've always found it a bit strange how, as you said, they've been complaining about this whole ping mojo deal. It's been actually fixed and no one's actually noticed, no one's actually said anything, no, they haven't even acknowledged it.
Exactly, like, everyone just in general, like, even the pyro haters were, like, sort of in league with saying that this update needed to fix a lot of shit, and a lot of shit that was fixed, there's just not getting any praise for, like, the latency stuff.
It's worse.
Yeah, the latency
It's worse.
stuff. The latency stuff...
I have seen people saying that the latency issues from old Pyro's flame was better because it made you be skilled.
Seriously? Seriously?
Yes, that is a legitimate argument I have encountered.
Oh my gosh, well, that's interesting.
Hi.
But yes, I honestly, I think I know why people are so upset about Pyro being better. And if you guys are wondering why Minty is making noises, him and Crocket are currently playing a game of TF2 right now.
My TF2 footage, but yeah, yeah, exactly. Just in general, the whole hatred for Pyro has only increased when he has been fixed. Like, you know, there's been memes saying what you see is what you get on the videos that show that he can do more damage. But that, literally, there was one I saw of a Pyro on high tower shooting down at an idle heavy bot. Not like, you know, a player that's moving around or something. So, you're clearly creating a controlled condition to be able to pull off that setting. So that doesn't prove the point. So, I know, it bothers me. And then there's the whole, What else was there? You know, again, the what you see is what you get. Before, people were complaining that Pyro's damage was inconsistent because, you know, WM1 was broken, not consistent. Now that the now that the visuals and all that are consistent, you're getting the damage you should be. And yet people are saying that's bad.
Well, I know exactly why they're saying it's bad. They've had 10 years of mediocrity to get used to. Exactly. They don't want change. They don't want things to be different.
Yeah.
The only thing the vast majority of people who played TF2 wanted fixed was the inability to see where Pyro's flames were. They would have been fine with Pyro being dead last everywhere else as long as they could see the WM1.
The thing is, he basically, for the most part, still is. Even if WM1 is quote-unquote stronger now because the damage is actually consistent, it's still a really gimmicky and cheap tactic that is easy to counter when you realise, hold on a minute, this Pyro is walking static in a line towards me. Maybe I should, move. Like, Crocket, Crocket, do you ever have a problem with WM1 Pyros as a shotgun soldier, for God's sake?
Hell no. Like, why the hell would I? I mean, this is how you play the bloody game. It's the foundation of any FPS. You probably said this, definitely, 100% knowing you.
In my WM1 Stigma video, I literally say WM1 is how you play first-person shooters, and the intro gag is literally like, I unbind WM1 and say, see how far I get. See, you get the point, though. Like,
you should link all these videos in the iCard above.
Shameless self-promotion.
Shameless self-promotion on the channel that has the damn video.
Excuse me. I'm not, it's not my channel. I can promote anything I want.
Oh, hardy, har. But yeah, like, and that doesn't even get into the hate for the new weapons. Like, the Dragon's Fury. Oh, boy.
Oh, man, don't even get me started with that thing. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily unpleased about its stats, but the fact that, I don't know, the upsides of it just become more apparent when the entire other team play Pyro. They could just swarm a target with just insane amounts of damage.
I'll agree with that. Yeah. When there's more than one of them, it can be kind of crazy. But that was just an effect of, you know, there being loads of Pyros anyway.
Well, that's what happens when you bring hell to Earth. Yeah. And then you give Pyro a weapon that makes things die faster when they're on fire.
But I mean, as we've like, there's this other comparison video I saw that someone linked me. Someone literally put a heavy against the wall and did a side-by-side comparison of the stock flamethrower and the Dragon's Fury. The Dragon's Fury only killed him marginally faster, like less than half a second. And I mean, when you consider...
And that's just assuming you hit all your shots.
Exactly. When you consider also the Dragon's Fury's projectile can be reflected, it doesn't work underwater, and obviously like most fucking flamethrowers...
Actually, the Dragon's Fury works... The Dragon's Fury works underwater if you're on the surface and shooting into the water.
Yeah.
Let's be perfectly accurate before the comments start getting all over us.
Oh, well, and plus, it doesn't work on people that are completely submerged. Like, they have to have their, like, head poking out. But, like, if you're completely submerged, you're still protected. But, like, even ignoring that...
And then there's the issue that the hidden stat that the base damage is not 25, it's really 75. And it's a hidden stat. They cut the damage by 2/3 if the person you're shooting at isn't on fire.
So the base damage is 75?
Every single weapon's base damage always hits for the perfect amount of damage when you shoot a building. Right. And every time you shoot a sentry, you do exactly 75 damage.
Yeah.
That's the principle of buildings. They don't take crits, but you can shoot them from any distance and do the exact same amount of damage.
Yeah. There's a bit of an annoyance, but that's a different topic.
Well, I don't understand why hard metal doesn't take bullet fall off, but soft flesh does. Whatever.
But yeah, that's kind of... it really bothers me that the Dragon's Fury has been getting all this overpowered hate, because... Now that there's barely any Pyros running around with it like there used to be, like, I don't really see that many Dragon's Furies compared to the stock anymore, or the degreaser. When I run around with it, I can clear people up, yeah, but that's because people don't know how to reflect and do good shit in 2-Fort.
Well, to be fair, it's because it's a new weapon, it's still pretty novel. People still need to get used to it, still need to establish itself, cement itself as part of the quote-unquote meta, TM.
Yeah, but when you face a good soldier, for example... I just fucking crit in the face to play NG. Sorry.
Yeah, when you face a good soldier with a Dragon's Fury, you're fucked because it's got a slower a slower reflex speed.
The thing is, not only does it have a slower reflex speed, like, if you air blast, it takes over a second for it to recharge, but that also means you can't fire during that time because, you know, the repressurization, that, like, sinks the air blast and the projectile together.
Yeah.
So that is really crippling. I mean, Demo Man already fires faster than the stock flamethrower can air blast anyway. So, against soldiers and demos, you're fucking screwed.
It basically cements the Dragon's Fury as the attacking weapon, even more so than the Flog, because with the Fury, you still have the option to reflect. You just can't reflect spam anymore.
Yeah, you can't reflect spam like the Degreaser. Hell, even the Backburner has better reflex capability.
Well, it has the base speed.
Yeah. It has the base speed. That factors in a lot more effective than, like, taking a bit more ammo. Okay, I say a bit more ammo. Obviously, I mean a lot more ammo. But saying that,
of course, you do get double the air blast with the Fury if you only spend it on air blasts.
Yeah, that was a Yeti. Oh, that's a spy disguised as a friendly heavy. What? Is that you, Crocket?
Yeah, Operation Hoovy.
Okay.
It's been what? I think it's been like 2 years since that video came out, and people are still doing it.
Yeah, but yeah, okay. So what have we been over? We've been in Pyro, WM1, Dragon's Fury. Is there anything else, Halen? You wanted to talk about the Reddit claims, didn't you?
Oh yes. Well, basically, people on Reddit are, as the rest of the internet knows, forever triggered. There is no pleasing Reddit. Because if you go against the groupthink, the group will hide you and upvote the groupthink.
Yeah.
From 1984. Nice.
I gave.
No. See, it's worse than 1984 because it's not enforced by the government. It's enforced by the populace.
See, I gave r/TF2 and the Discord a chance. Hell, Crocket, are you still in there? Or like, you're not even you're barely active in there. You said, I remember actually. But like,
well, the RTF2 Discord. I mean, I'm still privy to what goes on, but I don't exactly. Yeah, I'm not as active as I once was.
Right. But like, I gave it a chance, but for God's sake, I'm not trying to say that the Reddit community as a whole is awful, but the general like thing you see is people that are really stuck up about their own opinion and not open to hearing about yours, but when you criticize them for that, they'll say that you're not open to hearing about their opinion. It's the ultimate straw man and, you know, projecting inadequacies. It really bothers me because I mean, you get why Xenomite hates r/TF2, even if he goes a bit too far. Crocket would love to talk about.
I don't know. He's just everybody's favorite contrarian hipster. Rest in peace, you magnificent boss.
Yeah.
He's not dead. He just quit TF2's community.
Oh yeah, fucking blasphemy.
I mean, he's dead to Reddit though. That's probably the most polite thing I'll say.
Yeah. One of my favorite arguments that I see out of the people on Reddit is that, oh, the Pyro's flamethrower, it has no skill indexing. There's no way to make using it more skillful, and that's just completely ignoring the fact that Pyro is basically the spy without invisibility when he's going on an ambushing spree.
Yeah,
you have to have good movement, good positioning. You have to be able to infiltrate enemy areas in order to get the kills. You're the shortest range class. Even the Scout has better long-range options than Pyro.
Meta-wise, the Scout is a harder counter to the fucking Pyro. That speaks a lot. When the glass cannon character, who's like the scrawniest in the game, is still better than Pyro, like, in most ways than one. And like you said, Pyro has like, I always get shit for being the biased Pyro main, but I say it all the time. Pyro has the worst offensive capability and the worst mobility of every offensive class. His DPS is like a third of what Heavy can pull off, and it's lower than soldiers and demos and scouts, for God's sake. And mobility, just being as fast as like a typical class isn't enough. Scout, soldier, demo can all out maneuver him, and Heavy out heals and
But you see, Minty, you fucking Pyro main, didn't you know that all of this, it doesn't matter, because if you get inside Pyro's range, you're dead.
Well,
no, shut up. I don't want to hear about killing him before you get inside his range. Don't tell me about that. That's no fun. I want to be able to kill him while I'm inside his range, and have fun with it. And I don't care that Valve designed him to be the most fatal person in his range. I don't care. I want to be able to kill him.
But then you've got, you know, it's totally okay having a long-range assassin who basically has no counter other than himself in a game that's mostly mid-range combat.
And the best part is skill indexing on the flamethrower. That's what I was talking about. Skill indexing on the flamethrower. They want to make... I mean, seriously, viewers, go outside, pick up a hose, and spray it. Now tell me, how do you make spraying that hose harder to do?
Like, I get why... I get why people hate WM1. I hate it as well, but not because it's, like, easy to pull off and easy to do shit with, because it's really not when you're fighting good players. I hate it because it's really unintuitive, and it's like a basic thing that Pyro does. Okay, yeah, running around at people with a mindless fucking flamethrower mechanic is something he can do very well. But there's a
difference between There's a difference between WM1 and using your flamethrower as a finisher after you've already done everything that requires skill.
Yeah.
But even if you do everything that requires skill, all anyone's ever going to say is, "Oh, you're WM1."
Yeah, all Pyro can do is use a flamethrower and run at people. Fucking Forful's minion.
Excuse me, it's not my fault that you ran into the sewer without checking the corners, and I got in behind you and fucking murdered you.
Yeah, far be it from an ambush class to ambush you. That's the funny thing as well, you know, these people always say that, oh, Valve intended for Pyro to be an ambush class, but...
And then they complain when he's good at ambushing.
Yeah, like the thermal thruster. People are saying, oh, Pyro can fucking fly now, so combine that with the Dragon's Fury or the Flog or the Backburner or whatever, now suddenly Pyro's overpowered. Okay, Phlogistonnator, you still have no air blast. Backburner, okay.
Plus, you only have 8 seconds, which means 2 of those are dedicated to flight. 1 of those is dedicated to holstering and unholstering the weapon, and then you have to get close within the last 5 seconds to get the kill.
Yeah. I get why people might hate the backburner, like, fucking goddammit, Crocket. Okay, I hate the
They fixed the bug, by the way.
Yeah, they fixed that bug, yeah, but I have a love-hate thing with the backburner because it's always been, like, my main ambushing weapon, but... I get that it should have a frontal damage penalty. That much I do agree with it. You know, it needs to be punished if you're using it as a combo pyro weapon, not a flanking pyro weapon. But that's beside the thing. Like, so people complaining that Pyro hasn't been fixed when he has, saying that he's broken when he's not, saying that he's overpowered when he's still frankly underpowered in a lot of areas. The skill indexing. Is there anything else? Because there's
actually one thing that I think is more serious. Because fixing Pyro's flames means that we can address something that's been going on for 10 years, and there really hasn't been any way to fix it up to this point because the game was just too broken.
What's that?
The fact that basically everything Pyro has as a secondary that isn't some kind of buff for him was made so that he could do better burst damage because his flamethrower was shit. How many crit gimmick weapons? What percentage of his weapons are crit gimmicks?
Let me think.
Seriously.
Do we count the Dragon's Fury?
No, because it's not critting. It has random crits. Yeah. It's just doing its base damage.
Yeah, but like, you know, the whole 300 bit. Yeah, forget that. Okay, we've got the flare gun. You've got the extinguisher.
I've listened to what you guys had to say on the subject, and when it comes to Pyro being overpowered in WM, there's there being a stigma behind WM1 words. I've got this theory. And it might be a slightly unpopular one. Oh, please don't.
Okay, go on.
I mean, I've got this theory.
Don't do that, you'll get us downvoted.
Oh yeah, exactly. Or demonetized.
Yeah, go on.
So, the theory goes something like this. I haven't heard anyone say something similar to this or whatever. So, I guess it's just my own personal opinion for the time being.
Yeah.
And I think that the problem with there being a stigma behind WM1 is just the popularity of the degreaser. Because that's pretty much the definitive. It's a definitive combo weapon. And, ooh, okay.
It was basically the only flamethrower that skilled Pyros would use.
And because
so
that became the meta. That became the meta. So using anything else became just highly frowned upon or very niche.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think anyone's actually addressed this. It's not a fault of the degreaser itself, though. Because the degreaser itself, it fulfilled its intended purpose. But it's the strategies people built from that.
Yeah.
Even the degreaser is built around the fact that Pyro's flames suck.
Exactly.
Because the whole point of it was, you pop someone into the air after getting them a bit of afterburn, and you start attacking them with your secondary. That was the point of it.
I mean, is it surprising that a shotgun pyro often defeats a WM1 pyro?
I mean, because I think here was the initial trade-off when it came to just running stock versus the degreaser. You'd run stock if you wanted the ability to stay in the fight longer, for sustainability, survivability, longevity, and general crowd control. If you wanted the ability to pick and just heavily wound, if not outright kill, light to medium classes, then you'd run the degreaser and use it with a combo.
Yeah.
And of course, that became the meta.
Exactly. Combos specialize in burst damage. And since you've already got that ambush surprise factor, I'd assume since you're playing Pyro how it's supposed to be played, that can end up crippling entire teams.
Ooh, nice reflex.
But basically, honestly, every single weapon that was built with the philosophy that Pyro's fire sucks, we need to make up for it, it all needs to be rethought.
Look at the old
reserve
shooter, for God's sake. Let's be frank, before Jungle Inferno, Degreaser Reserve Shooter was the most hated thing. The funny thing is, that's not WM1. That's not even based on flames. Doesn't that speak?
No, that's a skillful thing. You're popping someone up and using a hit scan weapon to finish them off.
But that's the thing, though. People get mad because it's a hit scan thing, as in it's instant. It connects instantly. At least with the flares, you've got the pretense of having to connect a projective and it being an all or nothing thing. If you miss, you have to reload, etc., etc.
Yeah.
That's entirely a matter of a deceived perspective, because using a projectile weapon with popping people in the air, you got that enormous projectile hitbox.
Yeah.
A hit scan weapon uses the actual character hitboxes, so it required more skill to land, because you actually have to be able to aim at the character and not this enormous floating cube around them.
I don't think it'll be correct to say necessarily that the reserve shooter was took more skill to hit because of it having to use the hit scan hitbox.
Yeah.
I think the challenge wasn't to actually land the shot, but to land the maximum pellets in the shortest range. That's where the skill lay. Not actually landing the shot, but maximizing damage with it.
You see, being able to meat shot someone you've just launched into the air away from you.
I will say that the fact that the old airblast was a stun lock did give a little bit of deserving to hate it, but that's just with old Puff and Sting in general. If you kept the reserve shooter the way it was with the new airblast, where you actually have to, you know, aim upwards at them to pop them up.
Hi, Minty.
You know, I don't think I don't think it would get nearly as much hate, except from, you know, the casuals.
Can I just say I love the new airblast when it comes to deflecting people who are trying to bomb in. Oh my god, it's so fun sending them to the moon.
I know, right? The more momentum they are, it actually has added a lot more depth to what you can do with airblast, because rather than just have it be a static all upwards blast no matter what they're doing, now there's a layer of depth to what you can do, depending on what the enemy player and you are doing, which is fun. Like, it's fun, not just like, you know. Yeah.
Honestly, I think that the only way that people are going to be happy with Pyro is if they somehow make it so that the fire... You've essentially not changed the amount of damage fire does in theory, but you reduce the amount of damage that fire does to an individual per, I don't know, per particle. And then when you tell them that fire doesn't work like that, they tell you a fucking idiot and downvote you to -1,000.
Because upvotes and downvotes suddenly mean something.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's just how they silence your dissenting opinion.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, when it comes to upvotes and downvotes, you're not supposed to downvote if you disagree with an opinion. That's a bit counterintuitive to the downvote function, really. And they've said it themselves.
Try getting anyone in charge of anything at Reddit to give a shit about that.
I mean, I don't even...
That's a nice rocket launcher, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, have we basically said most of what needs to be said on Pyro, or is there anything else we can talk about?
Well, I was going to go on a rant about WN1, but then you reminded me that your video exists, and it was just a much better rant than anything I could have said.
What, ranting about the WN1 stigma?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just... TLDW, for God's sake. It's a bad mechanic that's not powerful, because once you start fighting people that aren't bad, you know, people who can rocket jump away, who stay out of your sight and range... You're not going to get the jump on them with WM1 unless you ambush them, which in any case you bloody die anyway, whether it was a flamethrower or a shotgun.
And
right,
can I just give a hint to the scout means in the audience? Take corners at a wide angle, and you won't have to deal with fire so much.
Yeah. This Pyro with the scorch shot, man. There's this one Pyro.
Oh, that's my favorite thing.
Yeah, the scorch shot is just so good at fucking harassing people. That's another thing that Crocket was brought up about the detonator after my video yesterday. He said that the detonator is the only one that doesn't have its own kind of niche anymore. Like,
yeah.
You want to reiterate what you said on that?
Well, alright, I'll try and summarize. Essentially, where the detonator used to be the balanced mix of offense and defense we all know and love, as well as mobility, it no longer serves any particular niche. It's stuck at the crossroads, where every other potential secondary does its job better. For damage, you've got the shotgun for survivability and for the flare gun for burst damage. For mobility, you've got the thermal thruster, which just far outclasses everything to a limited extent. The scorch shot, which deals less self-damage for a similar amount of mobility. Yeah. And as for utility, the only real utility you've got is the whole sort of detonating your flare in midair to get that splash afterburn radius effect thing going there. But the scorch shot fulfills that better, since its flares essentially have splash damage and can actually hit twice. Once on the initial hit and once on the rebound.
Yeah, that's the sad thing.
Also with the added effect of the direct hits knocking back players. And that's pretty much why, yeah, that's pretty much the main reason people would even dare to use it, quite frankly. Yeah, also because it's really easy to generate oomph with it. So, you know, it's basically the Flodge Pyro's secondary of choice.
That's the sad thing, just... The detonator's niche, like, its unique thing is manual detonation, but there's not really...
Actually, I honestly think... I think the man melter is still more of a crossroads than the detonator. Detonator is basically a scorch shot.
But at least the man melter still fulfills some semblance of support, as in it puts out your teammates for free crits where your primary wouldn't allow you to do so, be it the Flodge or the Backburner or the Dragon's Fury or whatever.
Yeah.
Whether it's because you're unable to do so, you have a limited ability to do so, or doing so would be impractical in general.
Oh, fuck me.
Well, hell, we've talked about primaries and secondaries. Anything to say on melee?
I think, honestly, like, Pyro has the least problems when it comes to melee, really. Since, generally speaking, melee weapons in TF2, in my opinion, they're generally not used as melee. It's a very impractical method of dealing damage. They're more used for their stats they can give to help patch up a class's shortcomings. More than anything else.
I actually don't really think the Power Jack outclasses that many anymore now that I've been using more of them, because... Using the Homewrecker right is a bit more situational, rather than just, you know, smacking a sapper when there's a spy around, rather than killing the spy, which is bad. But, like, the Back Scratcher, for example, that is a very viable alternative if you're not comboing. Like, seriously, the Back Scratcher on when you're playing a dedicated flanker is really fucking good.
I do enjoy patrolling, like, the hallways in 2-4 with just Back Scratcher out. And every time I run into someone, I just hit them in the face, and more often than not, I'll land a random crit with that 25% increased damage.
Yeah, doesn't it do like 218 odd damage with that thing?
I think it's one of the few melees where it's actually viable to use as a melee because of the additional damage. And since you're roaming, you're probably going to, you know,
healing.
Yeah, that too. That sort of increases sustainability. You can just pick up your health packs as a roaming class, with the added upside/downside of you having less health from dispensers and medics. But honestly, you can build uber faster, so it's not that big of a problem. So you can still use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
Also, Crocket, I want to get your opinion on something.
Go ahead.
With the new changes to Afterburn, the Sharpened Volcano Fragment has gotten a silent buff. It does full Afterburn, 80 damage for Afterburn, and it has absolutely no penalties to switch speed. Okay. So, do you think it would be a good combo weapon with, say, flanking with the Dragon's Fury? It does full. You hit it with the it's like, what is it, 20% reduced melee damage, which is double the damage that the
I think the better
hit
question
on
is why you'd run it outside of medieval mode in the first place. Because honestly, when it comes to setting people alight, every other, well, the primary and secondary, they do that job far better.
Yeah, I know, but Dragon's Fury, it gains benefit from hitting someone who's already on fire.
That's true, but you could just hit them with that instead, and you wouldn't have to really have to tolerate the melee range for that.
For half the damage and 3 seconds of afterburn and the possibility of missing your follow-up shots. But if you're in melee range, you're close enough that their big rectangular projectile hitbox is completely in your face. There's absolutely no way to miss that.
Actually,
yeah, but on the flip side of that, the opposite is also true, which is why it's a problem. You might be getting up close and personal, but that means they're also breathing down your neck as well, which makes it very impractical.
That's higher risk, higher reward, though.
The thing is, no, it's high risk, low rewards, because again, there are better ways to ignite them. Use a flare gun if you must ignite them at range, and at least with flare guns, all the flare guns, they do the maximum afterburn duration.
No, they don't.
They should do, anyways.
I know that the actual flare gun
or something
had it reduced.
The
actual flare gun had it reduced.
Yeah,
did they change that, or?
The stock flare gun goes down to 7.5, I think now. I think the other three still have 10 seconds. I'm not complete. The wiki says that the stock flare gun's the only one that has 7.5 seconds, while the others still have all 10, but I'm not completely sure on that. All I know is that the flare gun itself did have an afterburn duration debuff. Still, 7.5.
Either way, it was longer than just puffing them with a flamethrower.
Yeah,
that doesn't work anymore, anyways.
Like 7.5
well, it works for 3 seconds.
I mean, it used to deal puffing with the flamethrower. Just used to deal maximum afterburn duration, anyways. But now that they've changed it, ever since they buffed the damage afterburn did in general to make it not a joke in competitive play.
It's still a joke in competitive play.
I mean, it's not as much of a joke though, really. There's
only 5 healing targets in competitive play. It's just as much of a joke then.
6 is wise, yeah. And we could talk Highlander, but that just brings in a whole other sort of balance issues anyway.
Yeah, Highlander. More like who has a sniper.
Support Highlander.
Exactly, yeah.
Even though Highlander was built, isn't Highlander built on a command that's like vanilla to TF2?
I mean, even if it isn't, it captures the essence of TF2 more.
Yeah, that's what I like about Highlander. It's meant to represent what TF2 is all about, you know, each class working together and that, but it just, I don't know, something about it just doesn't go the right way. But anyway, that's a different thing for a different day. I think we've just about covered everything we really can. Or is there anything anyone else wants to talk about before we close off?
No, that was my last idea.
Shout outs to Simple Flips.
To who now?
Simple Flips.
Who's that?
Never mind. I'm sure the viewers will get it.
I hope they do. Okay, well, that's all for now, sexy compatriots. If you did watch, I hope you enjoyed this really long fucking rant.
This video / commentary /
yeah,
whatever.
Well, I don't even know how long it's gone on for.
I don't know either.
But yeah, I hope you enjoyed listening to us rambling, hearing me ramble about Pyro in a bit of a less scripted, more casual way. Thanks to Halen and Crocket for joining along.
No problem.
Thanks for having us.
And yeah, that's all from us for now. So let's all get ready for the big bye. So we'll see you next time, my sexy compatriots. Bye.
Bye.
You were supposed to do it at the same time.